We're live from our studios here in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539. This is home of fearless, credible and independent journalism. Our lead stories this hour. Parliament set to debate the appointment committee's report following vetting of some of President Akufo-Addo's ministerial appointees and controversies over whether or not any of them have been rejected or approved. We're live in Parliament to follow the debate. A Supreme Court judge teams up with the Ghana Journalists Association to push for decorous reportage tomorrow when the Supreme Court finally rules on the election petition case involving the Electoral Commission, President Akufo-Addo and the opposition NDC's John Dramani Mahama. We hear from Justice Yoni Kolende barely 24 hours after the GJA demanded the retraction of a directive by the justices of the Apex Court demanding removal of some stories from online portals. Also, first day at work after a 167-day forced leave, Auditor General Daniel Domelevo returns to work today, defying what has been described as attempts by Chairman of the Audit Service Board to retire him early. We hear from the Auditor General, anti-corruption campaigners as they fume and demand presidential intervention. And 3 alleged suicides by police officers in less than 30 days, pushing the police service to engage in a rigorous mental health program. We tell you the stories behind the names of the deceased officers and hear from the police hierarchy on the matter, also the perspective of mental health analysts on the best way forward. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. We're streaming live on YouTube and our other social media handles. Your WhatsApps are welcome, 0540109009. My name is Gifty Andopia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. It's been 2 months of arguments, sometimes fierce, other times funny. The Supreme Court, after 2 months of legal argument, will give the judgment in less than 24 hours. At a press conference today, Supreme Court Judge Yoni Kolende teamed up with the Ghana Journalists Association to address reportage of the judgment ahead of tomorrow. This comes barely 24 hours after the GJA demanded the retraction of a directive by lawyer for the justices of the Apex Court, which demanded removal of some stories from news online portals, cautioning all media houses in the country to desist from publishing hateful, indecent and offensive statements against judges. The GJA described it at the time as an attempt to dictate to the media. Well, today's news conference was organized by the GJA and the Judicial Service. Judge Yoni Kolende expressed the judges' uneasiness about what he says are attacks in a section of the media on some of their rulings. Justice Kolende wants the public to be circumspect in their comments as well about the judiciary.
Willing, tomorrow, the court will speak. When judges speak, that's the end of our role. It's not our place to get into studios, into debates, into commentaries, and to explain. That responsibility falls to you as the anchors who take information out. So if you inform, you can also misinform. It's the responsibility of those of you as the media who educate. If you educate, you can miseducate. And that is why, you know, if country will do well, if we will go forward, if our cohesion will be maintained, a lot depends on you and the professional circumspection, introspection and reflection and care that you bring to bear on your role as the anchor that takes the information out. I couldn't say it better than George did. You will have to take this phase of the responsibility very seriously. It's as important as the role you have performed in transmitting the proceedings worldwide, because at the end of the day, the Ghanaian people own the process. And it's important that they understand what went on, and that when the judges speak, irrespective of our preferences, our likes and dislikes, by the rules of engagement, the referee blows the whistle and the lots fall where they fall. And so let's be constructive, let's be proactive. And His Lordship has said, I should tell you that as trustees of the People's Power of Justice, We are willing and happy to be criticized. Criticize us as violently as you can, but for Christ's sake, don't insult us.
And that's Judge Yoni Kolende there. President of the Ghana Bar Association, Tony Forson, says lawyers will be on standby to offer legal education on matters likely to come out of the judgment tomorrow.
On behalf of all the lawyers, to render an unqualified apology, if there be one needed, to all the authorities involved in the discipline of lawyers. Indeed, after the elections and throughout the petition, tempers were very high. And as much as I believe that every lawyer is endued with the ethics of the profession, sometimes some considerations would make you slip here and there. As human beings, even in court sometimes, we even forget some of the issues and we ask for amendments. So I pray that whoever may have said something untoward towards any person as a lawyer, I render an unqualified apology. Going forward, I will ask that all lawyers, after hearing the judgment tomorrow, will lend their intellectual power to the media and to the general public and show leadership in explaining what people do not understand. That is what we have been trained to do. Definitely, I will not ask anybody to go one way or the other. Every lawyer is an independent thinking person and has his own considerations. But in as much as possible, let us all be guided by the ethics of the profession, such that at the end of the day, Ghana is the better for it, so that we may not have the opportunity or the infamy of having to explain ourselves to anybody for things that we have said or failed to say.
President of the Ghana Bar Association, let's hear from the Ghana Journalists Association. As I indicated earlier, barely 24 hours ago, they had concerns about that directive issued by lawyer for the justices of the Supreme Court. Well, today, like I said, the press conference was organized by both sides. Let's hear from the GJA now.
We know that the ownership structure of the Ghanaian media prevents some of you from being as professional as you ought to be, or what you want to be. So there's nothing we can do given the pluralistic nature of the media. All sides of issues are peddled. But for the sake of heaven, for the sake of national unity and cohesion and stability, our appeal to the media community in general, please inject the highest degree of circumspection in tomorrow's judgment, so that at the end of it all, Ghana will continue to be at peace with itself and at peace with the rest of the world. On this note, once again, I thank you for what you have done, and may the God of heaven bless you all.
You've had the GJA, you've had a justice of the Supreme Court, and you've also had the Ghana Bar Association. Let's head on the phone lines now and talk to Bobby Banson. He is a private legal practitioner. Bobby, thank you for your time and good afternoon. I'm wondering what you make of all that is happening within, let's say, less than 2 days ahead of the election petition hearing judgment tomorrow. What do you make of everything that's happened so far?
I believe that it's been a pure manifestation of legal words and grades and making sure that everybody protects the interest of his client in respect of the petition proper. With respect to the media reportage and all that have come with it, I believe that this, as a democracy, is an experience that we will cherish. We are growing. This is the second petition we have had concerning our presidential elections, and it's a step in growth. And we are all seeing that we are maturing as a country, beginning to appreciate some of these processes and procedures. And I believe that at the end of the day, we would have something that we will learn from. But whether you win or you lose, you would have learned something from the whole process.
I mean, for the first time, if you like, we're hearing a Supreme Court judge organize a press conference together with the Ghana Bar Association and the Ghana Journalists Association as well. Does that strike you as something is really wrong here, or is it a normal preconditioning of public psyche ahead of tomorrow?
You know, I want to congratulate the leadership of the judiciary for taking this step. You know, I believe that the judiciary wanted to give this image to the public that, listen, we are one of you, we appreciate the emotions that have gone into this, the emotions that would arise as a result of our decision, whether it goes to the left or the right or the center. And so we want to come down to this level. Remember, the Ghana Bar Association is made up of lawyers as well, who represented either the petitioner or any of the respondents. And so for a member of the Supreme Court, that is a judge, to organize this press conference together with the Ghana Bar Association and what you have it goes to show that they want to demystify the idea that the judiciary are made up of persons that are not part of the society. They don't understand what is going on, and they only sit there and then apply the law as they see it without thinking of the impact it will have on the society. So I believe that it's a step in the right direction. Just as I believe the military sometimes have open days where they allow civilians to come in and then just experience how the military works, just to demystify that arm of government. So I believe that it's a step in the right direction.
Did they achieve the targets? I'm talking about starting from the letter or the statement that was issued by the judges for the lawyer for the justices. Tadio, sorry.
That letter was not issued for the justices. The letter was issued for the judicial service. The judicial service is an artificial entity which can sue and be sued. It is separate from the judges. The judges are members of the judicial service, just as the judicial service staff. And so that letter was issued by on behalf of the judicial service, not on behalf of the judges. Hello?
Me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I do hear you. I do hear you now.
Right.
So I'm going back to it. You indicated the fact that you're very excited. I mean, this sounds like good news, but it's a way of getting the public to understand that the judges are also human beings, etc. But the question was whether or not, well, let's go to the judiciary, the judicial service. They sent this statement. Did it do justice to what they wanted to achieve initially, or do you think that it's actually rather agitated the public because then there were a lot of opposition to that particular statement?
I have my own misgivings about that statement. Not take away from the fact that the essence of that statement was to remind all of us that you can criticize the judiciary, but you must do so within the ambit of the law. So you cannot scandalize the courts in the name of criticizing the judiciary. That is the essence of the statement. And to that extent, I don't see anything wrong with it. I think that most of the opposition to that statement has been the manner in which it was couched and where it emanated from. So, for instance, I think that if the statement had been signed by the Judicial Secretary, it may have been met with less resistance. If the statement had used less words that did not sound very directive to the media houses, for example, saying that pull down hate statements, I think that it would also have been met with less resistance or opposition. So, in as much as there are some aspects of the statement issued on behalf of the judicial service and the manner in which some of the words were couched have met a lot of resistance, I think that we should not look away from the essence of that statement, which is reminding all of us the duty, the responsibility that we have, which comes from the right that we have to criticize the judges for their decision. We also have a responsibility to make sure that we not cross the boundary and enter into the realms of contempt. So I think that we can look at that statement with good eyes of opposition.
Do you have any expectations to share with us ahead of tomorrow? What are your own expectations?
Well, I expect it to be a long judgment. I expect that it to be a very reasoned judgment, as the Supreme Court is used to delivering, so that for every issue that the resolution would be on, we would have reasoned judgment made up of the facts, the law, the application, and the conclusion, And I suspect that we may have a case where almost every judge that sat on the panel would write his or her own decision.
Well, Bobby, I'll say a very big thanks to you. We'll look ahead to tomorrow. The Ghana Bar Association has indicated that there are lawyers who will be on standby to help the media, explain things to us. I believe you're one of them.
Well, I'll be available to assist.
Bobby, thank you. Bobby Banson is a lawyer. They're helping us with his perspective on what is happening so far. Tomorrow is a judgment day, and we'll be here to bring you live here on the JoyNews channel. Now, police officers face some of the most dangerous and demanding situations imaginable. As you know, in the past few weeks, the police we've had some rather unfortunate situations or some rather unfortunate happenings within the police service. Although their duties are very essential to society, they can be very strenuous also to those in the profession. And it compounds their predicament, or compounding their predicament is the poor working conditions that they face within the service, which sometimes also causes them emotional and physical strains. In the past 2 months, 3 police officers have committed suicide. A police officer shares his experience in the service and tells us what he believes are the causes of mental stress among the personnel. His voice has been muffled to protect his identity.
With regards to the recent happenings in the police service, especially the suicide, it is real, but just that nobody cares about it. The first one I will talk about is stress. The officers, especially the junior ranks, are so stressed. They go to work 24 hours. The least is 12 hours without any single day off in a year. Moreover, what they are entitled to, which is the 42 days annual leave, is not granted to them when they request for it. You can write the entire 42 days to go and do other things and rest. But unfortunately, your commander can decide to give you only a portion out of it. It can be 10, 14, 15. But your 42 days leave, you cannot get it. Going to work without a single off day. If you complain, you have yourself to be blamed. So whether you are happy or not, all that you need to do is carry your gun and go to work. Another thing is, most of the officers, the senior officers, don't listen to you. You can have a genuine complaint, but all that they will tell you is they also came to meet it like that. So you to keep quiet and do it as you are told. Whether the thing is killing you or not, for them what they want to see is you are working. Another thing is uniforms or police equipment that you need not to buy, says by our own police laws, is no more. If you take your pay, you go and use it on your uniforms, your boots, your berets, and those things. And we will betice you if you are not able to get these things. They, the big men again, will worry you. A boot, normal desert boot or black boot, some cost 300, 400, 500. You will get those things, uniforms. Meanwhile, your salary is just a peanut. All these things are part of the depressions. Frustration left and right, but nobody cares. If you talk, they say keep quiet and suffer, because they came to meet it like that, so you to continue like that. Accommodation too is one of them. And also the petty allowances that are due police officers are not getting.
Well, you had a police officer there whose voice we have muffled, telling us about the frustrations they go through. Now, the troubling situation has led the Inspector General of Police, James Opon-Bueno, to prioritize the welfare of officers, or so they say. His first step is, according to the police service, to improve the mental health of police officers through a 4-day mental health training program in collaboration with the Ghana Psychological Association. Listen to the IGP.
Recent happenings of some senior and junior officers committing suicide are very regrettable. And this is a concern to the police administration. We need to find a solution to this. And this is one of the ways in which we can find that solution. But you, the commanders, are the front line. So first of all, you must take this cause seriously and ensure that you yourself, as the supervisors, do not fall victim to the stress and the very mischief that we want to overcome. It is emphasized that the counseling unit will serve as an appropriate avenue or channel for personnel to express their psychological concerns for appropriate redress. It is expected that the unit, which is staffed by competent personnel, will roll out a broad range of programs to improve psychological concerns of our personnel and help them to overcome their struggling state. The police administration anticipates that the counselors will focus on individual treatment as well as group therapy to help others in similar situations. This may help guide persons through the difficult transition of going from addict to functional personnel in the service.
So that's the IGP there talking about what plans the police service has in place to help deal with what they believe to be suicide going on among the police officers, 3 in less than 2 months. Let's get to my colleague Mamesi Nyamiche Thompson, who covered that particular assignment for us, and try and put the names and the stories behind the numbers of this suicide issue. Mamesi, let's start with the officers. Who are they?
Between January 30 and February 14, we had 3 officers, senior officers and junior officers, committing suicide. The first to have done this, Superintendent Cyprian Zenge, and he's alleged to have shot himself in his house. A statement released by the Western Regional Police Public Relations Department said he left behind the...
Mamesi, I'm losing you. Can you reposition for me? Okay, let's try this again. Go ahead and tell us who this first officer you mentioned is again, Mamesi. We'll come back to my colleague, Mamesi Nyamiche Thompson, who is giving us a dossier on the members of the police service who are believed to have committed suicide. But listen to the Executive Council member of the Ghana Psychological Association, Dr. Erica Danfrekua-Dixon, explaining the modalities of this particular training that's meant to stop what looks like a spate of suicide among police officers.
We would teach them about mental health, because people erroneously think of mental health as those who are half naked walking the streets. They must have a clear understanding of this to be able to identify when such matters come up. And then lastly, we will delve into suicidology or suicide so that they can understand this phenomenon and know what to do where such things are arising. We would also look at the human resource policing and mental health. Our objective in running this course, first of all, is to make them a little more knowledgeable about mental health, help them identify in themselves and in people under their command, and lastly, to help them destigmatize, because there's a lot of stigma with mental health issues because they don't understand. So we hope that this would do this for them and would enable them to be able to seek the mental health services, because now they are able to recognize in themselves.
Well, let's get back to Mamesi Nyamiche Thompson. Mamesi, walk us through these police officers whose deaths has been ruled by or has been treated by the police service as suicide.
Exactly. So on January 30, the House of Senate District Police Commander, Superintendent Cyprian Zenge, is the first to have committed suicide. He shot himself in his house. And a note that was spotted by the Western Regional Police Public Relations Department said, it's read, he was fed up with this world. It's actually not clear what was eating him up, or whether he asked for help. And this police commander was 57 when he shot himself. He hailed from Nandom in the Upper West region. Now, the second person, Constable Eugene Yalnuna, 27, also shot himself while on guard duty at the residence of a Togolese opposition leader, Mr. Gilchrist Olympio, who is said to be resident in Ghana. He was an attaché to the National Protection Unit. But Constable Yalnuna Eugene was 27, and the circumstances is not clear why he shot himself, but the information I'm gathering is he was on leave and resumed on January 29, 2021, and applied for an extension of his leave to take care of his ill health. However, the leave wasn't granted, and then he shot himself. And so that was the second person to have done that on February 1st of this year. Now, the third person, which happened on Valentine's Day, is DSP Esiam Divine Yao, who was aged 50. He also shot himself in his residence at BOTWE, and he died at the police hospital. He was with the Legal Prosecutions Unit in Asherman. And in all these cases, Gifty, investigation is still ongoing to unravel the true circumstances that led to them taking their lives. But then, based on this, in the earlier sound you played, the IGP James Opombueno, in collaboration with the Ghana Psychological Association, had commissioned a 4-day psychological training program for their senior officers to equip them so that they're able to disseminate the knowledge and also improve on how they deal with junior officers. And so that is ongoing as we speak. One of the issues that came up during the commissioning was that the senior officers weren't well able to deal with the situations or complaints that their subordinates brought to them. And that kept a culture of silence among these officers, which, when was unbearable, proceeded to take their lives. Most of them, too, are depressed because of the situations that they find themselves in, which could either be their conditions of work or even family situations with whom they feel they cannot share with anyone. And so that was the situation we sought to have learned from the commissioning yesterday, Gifty.
So at the commission, Mamiesi, you were there yourself. The IGP outlined what they're looking to do. Give us a sense of whether or not the officers present found it adequate enough to deal with the problems that they believe they have.
Exactly. At the commissioning, he raised some topical issue, with the first being improving on the relationship with junior officers, or cordial relations between officers as well. Another important aspect of the measures they're taking is to review the training program and institutionalize mental health as part of the police training program. And so this is where they will encourage officers to speak up. When they're going through situations, they will speak up. And this was received well by officers that were present at the ceremony. Seated behind some of them, I could overhear them, agreeing to what the IGP was saying, and that it was time for some of these steps to have been taken. Apart from that, resources that were supposed to help them do their job well is also being looked at. Issues of accommodation, issues of allowances, and other aspects of the police service that is supposed to help them do better policing was also addressed.
Mamiesi, thank you very much. Let's get on the phone line now and talk to the president of the Ghana Psychological Association, that's Dr. Collins Bedu Ajiman, who is joining us via Zoom. Doc, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. IGP has indicated that this is work they're doing in collaboration with your association. What are the key things that are standing out to you as the real problems that the officers face?
Right. Thank you very much for taking so much interest, and I appreciate the great job done by Mami. She followed through while this particular lunch was going on. And I must say, one of the things the Journalism Award needs to consider if we want to do away with the stigma on mental health, probably is to consider journalists who are good and efficient at reporting on mental health issues. And I would suggest that should be a category as an association will be ready to support the sponsorship that goes with that particular aspect of our reportage. So basically, the historical accounts we listen to regarding alleged suicide cases among some officers is a public knowledge, and we have all heard it. Indeed, from a psychological perspective, we cannot conclude what specifically may have caused these specific cases that we are thinking about. But what we can say is that there are a number of situations that may cause someone to begin to think, I am hopeless, I don't have any option, it is finished, I can't continue anymore. A number of things can make any of us, when I say any of us, from the so-called pastor to the so-called famous journalist, to the so-called famous actor, to the so-called famous CEO of an organization, to the so-called teenager or the university student. Any life event that rocks your world and throws you off balance, making you think there aren't any option, can be an emergency situation, psychologically speaking, and can trigger people to begin to feel hopeless and trigger people to begin to feel there is nothing that I can do about the situation.
Okay.
But if you look at it from the Ghanaian outlook, generally speaking, romantic relationships with crisis, you could see forced marriages, sexual abuse, financial crisis. These are all some of the things.
I want us to, because we're dealing with the police officers, Dr. Bedwajimai, I just want us to focus a bit more on what really is happening within the service based on the work that you have done and how we need to deal with it. Let's listen to the police, the head of public affairs for the police service, Sheila Bachman, on what the interventions they're putting through are. And then when I come back to you, what I want us to discuss is whether or not this is enough to deal with the problems that the police officers face, which I'm sure that you are aware of.
We raised are genuine, and their concerns are already known by the police administration. It is the reason why several actions are being taken to address the issues holistically. And so this workshop that we are referring to will make commanders better managers of personnel, such that if it is about managing the human resource, if it is about managing time, if it's about managing resources such as uniform, commanders will be better equipped to do that, so that we don't unduly overwork our officers, or we don't overwork our officers to the detriment of our health. So several actions, as you heard the Inspector General of Police say yesterday, which you have played to listeners, are ongoing. So yes, some of the concerns are genuine and they're parts of the issues that are being addressed. Those that are perhaps not, for instance, if you talk about uniform, last year you yourselves reported widely that uniforms had been given to officers to the extent that although we had tailors and seamstresses, because we needed officers to have new uniforms early, they were also given money to go and get them sewn outside. So some of them, for instance, police population ratio, it will come with recruitment. Some of them are within the realms and ambit of the police administration to solve them immediately. But others also require advocacy and doing things gradually. So they're being addressed, and hopefully in a matter of a few days, we should have this addressed. The workshop actually will have cascading effects on all police officers nationwide. Commanders are better informed. Then junior officers who work under the commanders can also have the room to approach their commanders when they have issues and not bottle them up and just tell the media when it is the police that will have to solve the problems. Regulation that we work with says that we will work within 8 hours, but where the exigencies of the service requires, we work extra hours. So it depends on the duty that is being performed for a particular day of a particular period.
Doc, we'll hear the Interior Minister designate Ambrose Derry as well. But quickly, I want to take your thoughts on what we've heard the Head of Public Affairs for the police say.
Right. So basically, it's a well-known problem, the long hours of work, some of the challenges that they go through. They need to succumb to the leadership structure, you need to obey directions and what have you. But if you look at the problem confronting the police, currently we are working with them so that they will adopt a holistic approach to supporting all officers. So from the management perspective, we've had series of engagement with the top leadership. We've supported them what they need to do. One of the foremost things they needed to do was to take a short-term measure, trying to reach out to the officers, getting to them, which I know it has been done, is an attempt to debrief them, get to know how they feel, what is happening, the supporting helplines that they need to reach out to. I am also aware currently they are being supported to set up the wellness and counseling units. And this will be replicated in all regions from the plan that has been discussed. We have also, with the 4-day training, we are engaging all the senior officers who are manning the divisional, district, and sectional heads. We are engaging these ones. These are more or less the IGPs within the divisions, within the district. They rub shoulders with the men who are on the ground. They need to know how their behavior, their leadership patterns, their listening ability, the psychological first aid that they provide can be an immediate help to whatever they are doing. And the last part that we are trying to help them do is to look at the recruitment processes, the training processes. We want to integrate mental health, psychology, wellness, and proper coping mechanisms as part of all the streams of training so that right from the recruits, they will be assisted. Right from the officer rank, they know what they need to do, how they can empower themselves, how they can strengthen others, and how they can also be there for others. So it's a holistic work that indeed we are supporting them to do.
Okay, I'll take a very final word, but let's listen to the Interior Minister designate Ambrose Derry on the counseling that you talked about.
And you recall that when I appeared before the appointments committee, I did hint that we're going to build up the counseling department, and these are some of the events. But not only will it prevent them from dying, but it will also make them better police officers, to be able to think positively of the people they are dealing with, because their mental state will determine whether they respect your human rights or not. And then, above all, will make them more professional so that they discharge their duties effectively, investigate things with a level mind and with expedition. So I think that holistically it's going to make our police better police.
I say Ambrose Derry, he is the Minister Designate for the Interior. Dr. Bedwajima, thank you so much for your time. Let me take a very final word. If you were to talk to the assuming the police, entire police, hierarchy are watching you right now, in 30 seconds, what would you tell them?
My message is simple. We want everyone who is going through some form of distress to open up. Talk to someone you trust. Seek professional help. There is always a way out in trying to manage life-related challenges. And what I can say is that if you are a neighbor, a friend, by assuring someone that things will be better, is there any way I can assist you? Is there any help I can offer? just hold on tightly, we can make it, is enough to strengthen one person to continue to live on with hope rather than despair.
Doc, thank you so much for your time. Dr. Collins Bedu Ajimai is the president of the Ghana Psychological Association. He's also with the University of Ghana. And they are teaming up with the police service to run counseling sessions and a program, a holistic program, as he puts it, to help the police officers. 3 of whom we're told have killed themselves, some with their official rifles. Now, away from that, the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research says it has concluded investigations into allegations of falsification of COVID-19 results. My colleague Elton Bobby has a copy of the statement that they put together after the investigation, and he's joining me on the phone with more. Hello, Elton. Elton?
Yes, I can hear you, Gifty.
Right, Elton. So, first of all, help us understand. This is supposed to be a report put together after the investigation.
Right. So, they just finished a news conference that was addressed by the director at the institute, and this particular matter relates to an incident that happened in January. Now, on the 15th of January this year, the University of Ghana, Noguchi, received reports of the circulation of a controversial audio recording on social media. Now, the audio message was from an individual alleging that he was requested by the British Airways, that's BA flight, to obtain a COVID-19 test result for his travel to the UK. He therefore, according to the information this individual put out, visited Noguchi on the 10th of January to take a COVID-19 test, which turned out positive. But when he returned to collect the results on the 12th of January, he alleged that an hour after taking the test, he received a call from someone at Noguchi who informed him that the positive test could be changed to negative for a fee of 500 Ghana cedis to enable him to travel to the UK. This individual further alleged that he went back to Noguchi, where he was issued a negative COVID-19 test after paying the 500 Ghana cedis. He said after arriving in the UK, he took another COVID-19 test on the 13th of January. That's 3 days after the test at Noguchi, which turned out to be negative. So he recorded a message and put it on social media, alleging that he had been duped by somebody at Noguchi for 500 Ghana cedis. He was given a test of positive, later went to the UK, and it turned out to be negative. Now, the University of Ghana set up a committee to investigate this matter. Also, the National Investigation Bureau also set up another committee to investigate the same matter. Now, what just happened was that the university, the Noguchi authorities presented a report from the 5-member committee that was set up by the University of Ghana, plus a report that was also submitted to the University of Ghana by the National Investigation Bureau, which sort of dismissed the allegations made by this individual because according to them, he himself was not available to testify to the allegations that he made. Now, these are the pointers that they came up with from the 2 investigative bodies. According to Noguchi, this person is called Kofi Champong, and his sample was taken on the 10th of January at exactly 11:40 a.m. He himself walked into the center, and he paid 350 Ghana cedis for the test, and his sample was assigned to a lab. The sample, according to Noguchi, was processed through COVID-19 testing processes, and it showed positive. They admitted that the test results that came from their lab showed positive for this individual, Kofi Champong. Now, according to Noguchi, a report dated 12 January was prepared by the Noguchi Data Processing Unit which was verified and signed by the supervisor on duty, one Helena Lamte. Mr. Kofi Achampo, the person in question, positive test was collected and signed for at around 1:30 p.m. on the 12th of January. According to Noguchi, Kofi Achampo positive result circulated on social media is valid. Now, they are saying that there was no evidence in the Noguchi data and reporting system for the generation of another report that's negative for Mr. Kofi Achampo, which Mr. Kofi Achampo is claiming that he got from the Noguchi after paying 500 Ghana cedi, which enabled him to travel on the UK flight. Now, Noguchi is saying that without giving credence to the supposedly UK National Health Scheme negative COVID-19 results, which was also circulated on social media, they are stating that scientifically it is possible for a person to test positive for COVID-19 and convert to negative status within a few days.
Okay.
The technical data, according to what they got from Kofi Achampo, just gave a cycle threshold value of 36.12. That is the term they use, which suggested that his viral load was low, or he was on the path to recovery.
Okay.
But they are maintaining the fact that nobody took money from this individual, and that the test result they gave him was positive, and at no point was this changed. Now, similar findings what the National Investigation Committee came to, so I wouldn't want to go into the recommendation. But what Noguchi is saying is that I asked them, because from all the report that they presented, nowhere was it mentioned that this person, Kofi Achampo, provided evidence to back the claim that he made. Now, according to Noguchi, several phone discussions with Kofi Achampo, who is in the UK, to get him to assist with the investigation proved out. On all occasions, he indicated that he would prefer his lawyers to speak on the issue. He, however, failed to honor this many promises to provide his phone contact of the third lawyer. And they are also claiming that the National Investigation Bureau was able to go into his phones and were able to establish that at no point did Mr. Achampo receive another call from Noguchi asking him to come and pay an amount of 500 Ghana cedis for his test to change from positive to negative gift.
Well, Elton, thank you very much. I would love to hear from the Noguchi authorities shortly when you reach, when you get back here to the office. Elton Brobe there, who has been covering a press conference by Noguchi, which says that it has concluded investigations into those allegations of falsification of COVID-19 tests. We'll hear from them in our subsequent bulletins. But a bit about vaccinations. About 500 hard-to-reach health facilities in the Ashanti region will receive their COVID-19 vaccines through medical drone deliveries. The partnership between Zipline and the government is to increase access to the vaccine in difficult-to-reach communities lacking cold chain storage facilities. The Sophia Health Center in the Chumangwa-Bieja North District is the first in this category to take delivery of 1,000 doses of the vaccine through a medical drone. Prince Apia observed the exercise. Here is his report.
This drone is flying from Impanya in Asante Mampong to Sophia in Achumangwa-Bieja North District, all in the Ashanti region. At the Sophia Health Center, hospital and local assembly officials awaited the drone delivery. After some minutes, the drone drops the vaccine package. The vaccination official in the company of security and other health officials takes the package to the cold chain room for storage. The Member of Parliament for the area, District Chief Executive and a District Health Director took turns to take their jobs. BENITO OWUSU-BIO is the Chumangwa-Bieja North MP.
It's just like the normal injections that we take, the normal vaccinations that we've been having. It's important because this is the only known protection against this coronavirus. Those who are going around making false information around that this vaccination is not good or whatever, my advice to them is that they should desist from it.
At the facility, 4 drones delivered 1,000 doses. General Manager of Zipline Ghana, Na Adoko Yosing, says 11,000 doses will be delivered by the company.
If you look at the hard-to-reach areas, transporting it by road oftentimes becomes a big challenge because of the cold chain involved. But with zipline services and its support to the Ministry of Health, we ensure that there's equitable access of this product to even hard-to-reach areas that are unreachable by ground, while still maintaining the integrity and the quality of the product. It's a very exciting moment for us, and we are hoping that by the close of the day we would have delivered over 11,000 doses of the vaccines in various health facilities in the Ashanti region.
Meanwhile, there are mixed reactions among residents even after the public inoculation by the local leaders.
I was afraid at first, but now I see the NP and other leaders have taken it. I'm no longer afraid. She says when we were kids, we were vaccinated. This is no new thing. It shouldn't scare us.
Oh, I'm not going to take it. Why? I'm waiting for some months before I will take it. Oh, I'm afraid of it. That's why I'm not going to take it.
District Health Director Dr. Eric Sapon, however, says churches and other local agencies have been engaged to help in the public education.
I will urge everyone to get involved. It's not serious or dangerous as people are saying. It is in to protect X. We've written letters to churches, information centers, to education letters to distribute to his staff. So the awareness has been created so that everybody will be aware and they will come in their numbers to be vaccinated.
Meanwhile, the drone service also prevents waste by sending the exact amount required by any facility. Prince Apia reporting.
Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. But Chief Executive Officer of the Wenchi Methodist Hospital in the Bono region, Bernard Clement BOTWE, is applauding JoyNews for shining a light on challenges facing universal health care. The Wenchi Methodist Hospital, which lacked incubators for the neonatal intensive care units, now has more than enough incubators, and it will go a long way to prevent neonatal deaths. Bernard BOTWE was speaking to JoyNews' Nesta Kafuya Juma, whose report exposed the issue.
Since 2017, JoyNews has aired a number of stories to highlight the challenge of inadequate incubators at the neonatal intensive care unit of the Wenchi Methodist Hospital and how preterm babies were unable to thrive due to the situation. The hospital has since then taken delivery of several incubators and other medical equipment from international organizations as well as well-meaning Ghanaians, including Ghana's ambassador to Denmark, Amele Olenu Iwa Asamoah. Chief Executive Officer of the hospital, Bernard Clement BOTWE, expressed delight about the influence of JoyNews.
We must say that we are really grateful to JoyNews because you first picked it, you raised the whole issue to a certain momentum, and we started receiving calls from individuals and organizations. And now, as we sit, I can comfortably say that we have that number, and the next line of support we need from you is to court people to come in and help us get the infrastructure. We need that. And we'll send one of our doctors to train as a pediatrician. So it means that the game that was started in partnership with Joy is now growing wider and wider. And we are so grateful.
However, the hospital is now faced with inadequate space to house the neonatal intensive care unit due to the number of incubators available.
Since your last report, we've received a lot of support here and there. So we can confidently say that we now have about 10 incubators. The challenge now for us is a spacious facility to house all the 10. What we are doing now is that we have planned to move our present eye clinic from where it is so that we can have the whole space to construct a new NICU, that is neonatal intensive care unit, and we want to do it a one-story, so that the top will be for children's pediatric ward, the base will be the NICU. Our drawings are ready. We have spoken to the Municipal Assembly, and the Honorable Chief Executive tells me his plan for the year could not capture that. So hopefully next year. So that is a challenge we are facing now. So it means that we have to squeeze here and there to be able to keep providing quality care for our premature children.
For JoyNews, Nesta Kafui Ajuma reporting.
Nesta Kafui Ajuma filed that report. Let me take you back to Parliament. My colleague, Kwesi Parker Wilson, is standing by for us. Hello, Parker. Looks like I have lost Parker there, but what we understand. Parker, are you there?
Yeah, yes, I'm here. I can hear you loud and clear.
So we understand. Tell us what's happening in Parliament right now. We understand that there was supposed to be a debate on the Appointment Committee's report.
Well, that's correct. If you look at the business of the day, Parliament was supposed to debate the first report of the Appointment Committee today. But as it stands, Parliament is currently on a 2-hour break. We are told that when they resume from the break, that is when they are going to debate the Appointment Committee's report. Now, I have a copy of the report myself. It's quite a huge document, I give you have to say, very voluminous. And it contains 13 nominees. Now, perusing the document, I have concluded that 9 out of the 13 were by consensus according to the report. So what it means is that the members of the Appointment Committee, by consensus, decided to approve the nomination of these 9 individuals. And let me just run you through these individuals. I'm talking about Kandapa, Dominic Nitio, Shelley Ayokoboche, Dr. Yao Edichum, Chairman supposed to being the majority leader and also the minister designate for parliamentary affairs, Danboche Ambrose Derry, Ignatius Bafwewa, Sarah Josafo, who is headed for the gender and the social protection department. And the report says that 3 were by majority decision, and this is OWUSU-BIO, Mrs. Howard Thompson, and Kojo, which you all know. Now, the contention has been that what is the meaning of by majority decision? I have spoken to some of the NPP members on the committee. Now, the argument they make is that by majority decision, it means that some individuals raise concerns about the approval of the nominees. Those were in the minority, but collectively, the majority group won, and that is why it is by majority decision. Now, on the NDC side, they have argued that that is inaccurate because they are going with the majority-minority nomenclature. The decision, as captured in the report, is by majority decision. So technically, it is by NPP decision because all the members on the committee belonging to the NDC objected to the approval of these 3. And if you look at the numerical strength of both parties, we are talking about 13-13. So where lies the majority? And that is why the NDC is saying that the majority is an NPP decision and not a collectively majority decision by the committee. So that is the debate and controversy with regard to the report. So as I mentioned, when they resume in just about 40 minutes, they will table the report and the debate will continue. Now, the nature of the debate will now decide whether the 3 nominees who clearly the minority are raising concerns about will be subjected to voting. And if they pass the votes, what it means is that, well, they've been approved. But if the plenary, the committee of the whole, reject these nominees, President Akufo-Addo will now be forced to re-nominate other individuals to occupy these ministries.
What is happening now, you tell us, is a break. Does it mean that they're going to come back from the break and debate this decision?
Yes, so you see, they will return shortly. In fact, the break is as a result of what we've been told by the Speaker of Parliament, a briefing by the Health Minister designate on the vaccine rollout as far as Parliament is concerned. Already, we are told by the House that the Protocol Health Directorate has made available 2,000 doses of vaccines to members of Parliament. The Speaker says it's not enough. They want about 6,000 for the members of Parliament and also the staff, the parliamentary service workers, including their families as well. And so the Health Minister is in the House currently briefing the members of the House. This is a joint committee, so we, the media, have been asked to step out whilst the members of the House, the members of the Parliament, receive that briefing from the Health Minister designate. So when they are done, that is when Parliament will reconvene, and then when they return, the debate will follow, and then they will look at the issues within the report and everything that has to be dealt with, so that if they have to approve all the 13 nominees, they will do that this evening. If not, they will defer some of them.
Wondering, has the minority in Parliament made any comment on the back of this?
Well, the minority in Parliament is yet to speak. You remember that yesterday, OWUSU, chairman of the committee, clearly stated that they don't want any member of the committee to speak on these matters. It is a team, and so they need to work as a team. And as a team, they have leaders. So the leadership will now have to communicate their decision to the public. And so those on the committee have not said a word. But those outside the committee, well, they say they just got the report. They're not studying the report. So when they are done, they will pass a comment or two. But let me say this, that on social media, there are concerns about some disappointment with NDC supporters that their members, the NDC MPs, approved the likes of Dominic Mitchell and Mr. Kandapa for national security, basically because of their alleged involvement in the shooting incident that characterized the December 7 elections. And so, as I speak to you, my sources within the party tells me that the NDC MPs have decided to protest against the approval of Kandapa and also Dominic Mitchell as well. Because in the report, as I mentioned to you, it was by consensus on the committee, by consensus. Now, when the debate is going on the floor, the minority will raise the concerns that they are questioning that by consensus decision by the Parliament Committee, and that they will subject them to voting. And so Ambrose Derry, Dominic Mitchell, and Kandapa would have to be subjected to vote. So as it stands, the recommendation, it is not all that intact until the plenary decide on what to do with them when they return.
In fact, before you go, was there anything on the Minister Designate for Land and Natural Resources, Abu Jinafo?
No, nothing of the sort has come up. In fact, the list I have here, his name is not captured in the first report of the Appointment Committee.
Okay.
They will table the second report of the Appointment Committee, which is going to contain 8 nominees. And so I'm sure that his name will be in that report, and that report will be debated tomorrow, and subsequently the other report that comes. So for now, nothing of the sort has come up with regards to Mr. Abu Jinafo.
Parker, thank you very much. We look forward to that debate that's yet to happen in Parliament. Kwesi Parker Wilson, my colleague on the ground for us. Well, you heard him give you a number of people who have been, according to the report, approved. We've not seen the name of the Minister Designate for Land and Natural Resources, Abu Jinafo, but he's been making giving some assurances about how he intends to deal with illegal mining. Let's talk briefly about that. I have the General Secretary of the Small Scale Miners Association joining me via Zoom, Daniel Ama. Daniel, thank you very much for your time and for your patience. Now, let's begin with the current concerns that as small scale miners you have, and how you expect the Minister Designate, should he be approved, to deal with it specifically.
Thank you, and good evening. The name is Godwin Ama, not Daniel.
Sorry, apologies for that.
Yeah. The small-scale mining sector mainly employs them. We are the actors in the industry, but the major challenge that we have is illegal mining and also land availability for the small-scale miners who have gone through the process to be able to sustain their business operations for a very long time. So these are some of the challenges that we have. We also have issues of, in terms of equipment, that modern equipment that miners need for them to be able to work more efficiently and for them to be able to, for us to be able to also recover our gold or the minerals that we are engaging, to be able to get more and then sell and get a lot of foreign exchange for the country as a whole. The sector is employing over 1 million people, as you know, and currently, if you take the total gold production in the country, is every 3 ounces of gold that's mined, 1 ounce is coming from the small-scale mining sector. So it's a very significant sector. The next issue we have is the issue of taxes. And now government have brought this withholding tax, which all small-scale miners, anytime you sell your product, 3% of your earnings are withheld. And if you look at the cascading effect, it's affecting the small-scale miners a lot. And the next issue is with the withholding tax. There's no proper regime in place in terms of monitoring it. So what we've seen now is some buyers buy and then deduct the 3%. They don't issue proper receipts for the small-scale miners. And some are being smuggled out, and government is not getting the taxes that it requires from the industry. So these are some of the challenges that we have.
Well, the minister designate for the sector has indicated, his plans of dealing with some of the issues that you have. You and your colleagues seem excited about what he's promising, but will it really solve the problems?
Yeah, you see, what he said is one thing, and how to implement it is another. And what we will say, he has shown some commitment in terms of the time he was being vetted at Parliament. I watched some of the experts, and he said he's going to ensure that illegal mining will apply all the laws to ensure that people do the right thing. And also,
they're essentially talking about, yes, exactly. So the community mining, for example, and about sort of regularizing small-scale mining.
Yeah, regularizing the
exactly.
With the community mining, it's not different from small-scale mining. It's a scheme that government brought up, and then we all are.
Looks like
we came up with a policy for us to be able to manage it. But what is on the ground now is not what is supposed to be done. You see a lot of some DCs that are engaged in community mining and making it more on party lines. There's no license, and then people are just engaged and digging anywhere. Most concession owners are being faced with this issue of community mining. People just carry their equipment and get to mining sites without the requisite license, and they just take it and they say, government says we should engage in community mining. And most of these things are led by the DCs in most of the mining community. So it's like there's no law. Everybody is doing what he thinks he can do to get some place to mine. And it's bringing a lot of water pollution and also land degradation.
So let's wrap this conversation up with your expectations for the next regime. As far as small scale, wrap it up for me, 30 seconds.
Our expectation is that the community mining scheme is a concept that is good, but it should allow the Minerals Commission, which is the agency under the Lands and Natural Resources, that is the minister expertise or oversees, to lead and to ensure that the policies that we put in place to manage or for the implementation of the community mining should be followed, so that it will not be based on political lines. Once it's able to do that, because it's assured that it's going to be fair and ensure that the laws of the Republic or the laws of mining is properly implemented. So if it's able to do that, then most of these challenges will be eliminated. Because most of the people who are engaged in this illegality in terms of hijacking the community minority are people that are coming from his part. So if he's able to be firm and ensure that he will implement the law to the latter, then these people will not be there, and then the Minerals Commission will be able to do their work without any interference. Godwin, thank you for your time. We'll see how it goes. Godwin Ama is the General Secretary of the Small Scale Miners Association. Our Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, has resumed work after nearly 170 days forced leave following a directive from President Akufo-Addo last year. This is despite a statement from the Audit Service Board saying he should stay away because personal records in its possession indicates he has reached retirement age. In a series of correspondence between the Audit Service Board and the Auditor General, the board indicates that it has noticed discrepancies in his date of birth and nationality. Manuel Kranting has been monitoring the situation at Mr. Domelevo's office and has this report.
So we've been here up around 7 a.m. monitoring whether or not he was going to show up. Indeed, earlier, everybody at the office, even up until now, has been tight-lipped. Nobody was saying anything until we got a glimpse of his arrival. He used a different entrance into the yard of the audit service where he was ushered into his office. And it's instructive to note that at this point, there was a sharp contrast in how he was received today against what happened the other time when he arrived at the office and the keys had been changed. In fact, today he was giving a smooth access into his office. I also went upstairs and monitored that some technicians had come to his office and were fixing the telephone lines. I gathered that there were some issues with the telephone lines in his office. That issue has been fixed this morning, giving you an indication of the sort of reception that he's received since he arrived at the office. We've been trying to get some comments from him essentially on whether or not he's gathered the correspondence from the board on wanting him to stay away from the office because of the issues around his nationality and then, of course, his age. He's declined to comment, but he spoke to us briefly and, thanked Ghanaians for their concern for him and checking on him even as he reported to work this morning.
I will not make any public statement. I will not also comment on any issues. But it will be a disrespect to you people to just look at you and ignore you. So once again, thank you very much for showing.
Something which Daniel Domelevo in his correspondence to the board said was corrected in 1993 to 1st June 1961. And so if indeed he was born on 1st June 1960 and the audit board's position holds, then based on the audit board's correspondence to him, will be occupying the office this morning illegally. But we do not have details on what the implications of his arrival are yet. And that is what we are monitoring, Benis, from here at the audit service premises, trying to find you the details. And when
well, in a reaction to, Manuel sent that earlier, in a reaction to the circumstances leading to Mr. Domelevo's return, Director of Advocacy at the Center for Democratic Governance, CDD, Dr. Pomponi Asante, said the issue raises a much more bigger concern about the powers of the executive. He spoke last night on PM Express.
It's just another clear indication that, the Audit Service Board, led by its chairman, wants to continue this very shameful behavior. It seems like the only job the audit service is doing is to stop the Auditor General from working. And I don't, they seem to have a lot of time to do this. So it's very disappointing. I mean, we know that the Auditor General will retire in June anyway, so maybe another 3 months. So this whole matter coming at this time, obviously, for me, it's just ridiculous. And it just adds to the fuss around this whole issue. But after we've already said, this is not a matter just about the Auditor General. It's a much bigger issue. It's a constitutional issue. It's a big governance issue. So we'll wade through all of these matters that come. It has to be done in accordance with the rule of law. And I'm sure when we've all gotten an opportunity to review what has transpired, we'll be able to respond appropriately. But it doesn't, as I said, Dom Levo's situation is just part of the story. There's a bigger challenge as to the president's powers to ask, independent heads to go on leave. Those are the matters that I think are even more important, even if Mr. Domlevo leaves. This is an administrative process that they have initiated, and I'm sure there are responses from Mr. Domlevo. They have made a decision that they don't believe his explanations. They are going to send the documentation to the appointed authority to make a decision. So let it play out. I'm not going to doubt one way or the other, but one thing I can say is that if he turned out to be a Togolese, then actually I even have more respect for him, because he's done more for Ghana than a lot of Ghanaians who say they love Ghana.
Dr. Pumbuni Asante, the president of Imani Africa, Franklin Kujo, has been describing this as, quote, madness.
I'm not entirely surprised. I think it's one of these rather comical scenes that we have been said. And I'm thinking that the madness has to stop at some point. I mean, it's better to just say that you don't want the man there at all than to be Machiavellian in every rule of looking for every rule in the book to tag him out. So I'm not surprised. I heard the board chairman explain himself. In fact, he even dropped the phone on the sister network. I think Omar Sanda interviewed him on City. And he was not convincing at all. So, except to say that what is playing out clearly is more than a witch hunt, really. And so for me, I'm not entirely surprised at all. I find it quite comical as well. And I think if there's anything the presidency should have learned from the last election, is that people detest this whole idea of trying to hound anti-corruption, publicly sanctioned anti-corruption agents. And so the story isn't pretty at all. And I thought the president can put his foot on the ground and say, this craziness must end.
Franklin Kujo, the co-chair of the Citizens Movement, says who is also the anti-graft campaigner, Vitas Azim, wants President Akufo-Addo to intervene in the current impasse at the audit service so that they can find an amicable solution to the issue. He spoke to Mamavi OWUSU-BIO this morning on the AM show.
I think we should hear something from the president. It will be like we are just giving now. Although I think that maybe personally, if you ask for my personal opinion, I would just say, look at your records. If you cannot justify them, maybe you just forget about it. But if he has the records that show that, he has done the right thing, I think as a principle, he should wait until the time comes, or until an appropriate authority asks him to go.
What can he realistically do in 3 months? What new discoveries can Daniel Domelevo bring out as Auditor General in 3 months?
So there were certain issues that he was already pursuing. The senior minister case, for example, I don't know whether he can go back for it. There are other issues that he was pursuing. So he can at least bring those to conclusion.
So Azim there, speaking to my colleague Mamavi OWUSU-BIO early on this morning. You're still watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Dorpia. We're back after this break. Do stay with us. Let's take a break. We're back with sports. And you're welcome back to the show. In sports today, Jairosi Taylor of Karela United has been one of the top strikers in Ghana Premier League in the last 3 seasons. My colleague George Addo Jr. went to Enyinase to have a conversation with him, and he has been telling us how it all began.
Jairosi Taylor, striker ma Karela United. I feel the Nyame Aduma Gokin. Yajaka Karela United. Na Karela United. And so target is a top 4 of Yabingram. The Bompa, Murray, your name of P. Edimam.
Fred Notte. Would it be the take of Jairosi? But it was Karela who got the miners thinking with Jairosi Taylor delivery giving them the first goal, and that was brilliant just after 5 minutes. Frimpong swings one in. Would it be the equalizer? It is close.
Jairosi Taylor. The mind but Mr. Taylor school or the man primary KG to primary, but I think the Nyamiadum Tamam wants to be saying in another bubble. One teacher be no be child they were to buy us whom no say Mammy I friend also with team job as a host team job as a man the man should be home my family. Nothing from there class 5 to be rest at the one to from class 6 to DHS to senior high. Things on in China and I'm up to in China. Into honor that's why my life so you know I can't wait to me I can say as a Uncle few family in China family no for good mother my father na yenso enkula na for okay oba na ekwan na chiba na me so ma chiba e be man na last one him share na one thing away family no say my father a friend ya mother so ya your phone ni nyina so ya order I don't go school. Okay. I go school. Until all night teacher in new nurse. Or say me better so. I think that from there, from Agripansem, yes. I want to buy a course in Anamebo midfield. Yeah, until one month, the Samiti. Kumasi. Good. Samiti. Or the coaching Agripansem, second division. But then Tana you course. Until from second division now, Obabe Hay course matches. Until buy a woman born now, no, or catch Agripansem, the made the second division. Now you pass Musa. Also, no, meet me. Reborn and meet me. Was the second division, so me buy no na or my boring system. That is me pedia kaka. To pedia confirm ball and not say I'll create striker. No me so work. Got already where me sitting now. I no intelligence and so good and so share. To the make any more so to one training kaka. From second division no then time na me senior high. Okay. From there nana Yakobo Medile the home half. One of the Kumasa for so to move in nana so from second division and I'm called Kumasa then Tanamo school. We school now so I'm just but one season until we are so go start for so bad to be school now we go start until once I may have done first season 17 years second season now wow the one I'm from back my first dream is number out but no went me about blasters number 2 mo number big team. Oh, I just up to now, I've been on point for the Casa. Doing cabinet and I didn't come up. Catch it and I said, I've been at the Miami. So, I think at the right time.
At the right time.
I said the money they share the over and also. The same so you come in the bag. It is anonymous. I do so I do. Oh, any day nipa de order for. Young commoner, I didn't come on. You go from school and I think so obenya class.
Obenya classmate. Okay.
Young commoner.
Kaka mo frɛ na oni o kasa kaka.
Oh yeah, be mo frɛ me so me frɛ. Okay. Didn't come. No man. Man for catching me now. You are me and I can because I can say my attention now. Okay. Yeah, I mean now rest enough to be concentrated to Montino. I know that things concentrate too.
Okay. If you now you are next up about now about ball now APBA. Okay, solid. Now sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry boy and I play Empire one and they do go.
Oh, they me class.
Oh sir. And then press Vini and now yeah.
You call me CS.
Oh sir. Casa Apostolic. Okay. To nyum ni ade won.
Oh meto.
Ana on say I need ma sorry nyum sir.
Oh meto no. Meto yo as this time na Sundays there start league na.
But we praise and worship papa.
Oh yeah.
It's your best praise song again. Dana Siana.
Oh, that I see. They said normal.
Normal. Oh,
the first one. Yeah. January focus.
Na. But you favorite gospel musician, Biana? Oh, be your born your ma, oh Peppa na.
Oh yeah.
Why no? Why you metal na why?
Oh, there.
Why now?
It's about. Yeah.
Is the amount which that can answer? Oh, that's yeah, but Joe Mike now. Now, you have musicians. Normally, show you shut up and now here. Super Stone Boy and now they now pay.
Oh yeah, I think I knew they are there. Sometimes. Especially Ubo match we now consider to get things and no to me. Yes, born there. And you made the Ghana to fund the
one up and I said, oh,
to be asking.
Oh, so choose back on the idea.
Oh, yeah, I said me choose back, me to be asking.
Sonia Sassi, they who are done. Chairman Safuni, and I'll say Chairman San is a singer, composer, songwriter, and a guitarist. I do a variety of music. I do soul music, jazz, R&B, and some high life, lovers rock, and some reggae to end gospel music. I would say it's because of my upbringing. I grew up in a very musical family from my dad's side. He has a studio, Fredima Studios, which has been running for a long time. And that's why I started learning how to sing, how to play the piano. So I believe music started from there. When I was in Christ the King, I went to Christ the King, I was in the choir. I went to Reverend John's Memorial Institute for secondary school. I was in the choir also. Then Central University, I was in the choir too. So I guess music has always been a part of me. Let your presence fall, let it rain on me now, over again. Music changes through the decades, through the years. Music always changes. So sometimes it's difficult for people to adapt to the change, but eventually they get used to the new stuff that is coming. So you see some people doing very, very different music, and even gospel music, very, very different gospel music. You talk of the likes of Dave the Music Box, talk of the likes of people like Kofi Nkrumah. But outside even the gospel, the confines of gospel, we have people like Super Jazz Club, Fraband, Santrophy, doing all sorts of different types of music, or let's say adding other genres into an existing genre. For example, let's say with the Fraband, they sometimes add lovers rock, reggae, and some kind of funk into the high life genre. So And I think music is progressing and people are warming up to it. So but my thought pattern is I listen to the song first time, then I listen again by listening to the individual instruments in the music, then again listening to the vocals, and if there are any background singers or anything like that, I break that one down too and listen to it. So I literally tear the song apart just to understand what it means, then put it back together again and have a full idea of the song. Okay, so one of the main challenges would be finance. In a sense, getting someone to help push the music, to help record the music, because it's not cheap to record music, and talk of shooting a video, then promoting the music. It's not cheap at all. So I think finances will be the main difficulty or the main challenge. The other challenge is, this is a personal one, trying to get people to understand the type of music that I do. You know, I grew up listening to a lot of R&B music, a lot of soul music, and it's natural that I infuse it into my music. So sometimes it's quite difficult for the Ghanaian market to understand the type of music that I'm doing. So I think that's one of the challenges, but mainly it's people understanding the music and then finances. I have 3 singles. Okay. Dropped the first single in 2018. The title was Nyamebetwe. That song was written by my father, Fred Chairman, some people know him as Fred Dima, and the late Kofi B. So they wrote the song together, and I've been hearing that song since I was little. Like, I would enter my dad's store, he'd be singing the song, and when the time came for me to release music as an artist, I found it to be fitting to bring that song out first because of the message of the song, and it was a very, very nice song. And then the second song is Take It All. So Take It All is a song that I wrote while I was in Central University with my roommate. His name is Steve Wanompe. And the funny thing is that we wrote that song very early in the morning, where university boys were very hungry, you know, and I think we used the hunger to write the song. And it really turned out great. We wrote the song in about 15 minutes, the full song in about 15 minutes, and so when the time came for me to record music again, I decided to record that song because it's a really good song. I'm very, very confident in that song, and I will give a huge shout out to my friend Nick from Nick Records. He took up the production job and did a marvelous job. Take It All, that was in 2020. Yeah, 2020. Yeah, in February, and it did very, very well. Very, very well with the audience. People listen to it, people are blessed by the song. The song itself is a blessing to me. I still listen to the song to this day. Alright, Ayeyi is the new banger. Ayeyi is the new banger. Ayeyi, the chorus of Ayeyi was written by my father. According to him, in 1990, he was at Latebia Okoshi. He uses Casio keyboard to write the chorus. So the chorus goes like Kutudrinina Tetremenina Diadansia said Una Buyo Him Buyo Yamya Buyo Yamya Buyo Yamya Aye Sewo. You know, so I remember one Friday he came to my room with a keyboard to play the song, and he played the song, and my man was like, Charlie, this song say highlight we did highlight from the metro. I mean, can we do something else? But as time went on, I kept on listening to the song, and I had a melody for the verses of the song. So I just took the guitar and I'll just play it in my room. I do that a lot. I just play the guitar in my room, and I had a melody for the verse. But the thing is, I'm not so conversant with writing in Tree. I think my stronghold is writing in English. And so I called one of my friends, his name is Omari Kisi Jr., he's also an artist. And he told me, oh yeah, he can help write the song. So I sent him the audio, I think on a Saturday, and he brought it back on Tuesday with 2 full verses. And I was like, hey, I thought I was a songwriter, but then some people are really, really, really good at it. You know, so we had the 2 verses, and the producer, that was Jonas, Jonas and Nick, they told me that we need to get a bridge for the song too. So I was just bathing, and then the bridge came to me. So what I did was, I'm telling you, not exclusive. I didn't finish bathing. I just ran out, took my phone, and I recorded it because I didn't want to forget it. I did not want to forget it. So I ran out, recorded it, and then I sent it to the producer. So that was around July, and then we started the recording process in August. So I did a demo here in my home studio. So I came here one morning. The producer had sent me some of the keyboard lines. So with my dad and I, we just tried to lay down the vocals for just the demo. Then we sent it back to the producer, and then he worked some magic on it. So yeah, that's how. So we started the recording process in August, and we finished in January. Yeah, it was long because I believe if you're going to do something, you have to do it well. And besides, you're doing it for God. Psalm 53 verse 3 says, "Sing a new song unto the Lord and play skillfully." You know, skill is also an essential part of recording music, especially gospel music. So we had a lot of time to work on the song, you know, and by January we're done. Okay, so from the time that my dad played the chorus for me, I always thought that if you want something from God, you have to go with always begging, like, God, please, I need this. God, I need money. God, and there's always I need. But then my thinking shifted, and I realized that sometimes we forget that God is all-knowing. He's a sovereign God. You know, He's all-powerful. We forget that everything is in Him. You know, we are always saying, God, give me this, God, give me this. But maybe He has something better for you in store. I know that you are all-powerful and all things come from you. You know what I need. So all I have to do is just give you thanks, give you praise for who you are, and not necessarily for what you are doing for me. I worked with some of the most amazing songwriters, musicians, and singers across the world, honestly. From Ghana to Africa, they are the very, very best, in my opinion. So a huge shout out to my father, Fred Chairman-san, for writing the chorus of the song about 30 years ago. Amazing chorus. And to my brother, Omari Kisi, for writing the verses on the song. And to myself, Chairman-san, for writing the bridge while I was in the bathroom. Thank you to my producers, Nicholas Annan Jr., who runs Nick Records. He's one of the producers, and to Jonas Ahedo of Aeon Music. These two just collaborated and made a masterpiece. Thank you so much. Jonas also played keyboards on the song, and my brother Nanaya Boateng, who also played the drums on the song. To my brother Obin King, all the way in Sunyane, who played bass, who sent 6 files. And we had to use all 6 files in the song, and it turned out amazing. My brother Emmanuel Tete, we call him Akuma because if he plays the guitar, you know why we call him Akuma. He owns the strings, you know. And then Nijata, who played horns on the project. The thing is that I didn't want horns in the song initially. It was an alien idea to me, but then the producers spoke to me and like, look, the horns will make the song sound fuller. And when they brought it, I was ashamed because I loved it. And shout out to Nana Kojo Sebu, who played percussion on the song. The song was recorded live. 95% of everything I hear is live. Everything was live. So shout out to Nana Kojo Sebu for playing the percussion for us. And a huge shout out to Charles Pettingle and Elsie Degajo, who did beats on the project from Audio Temple. They're also products of Uncle Koda. I call him Uncle Koda because he has really helped in this journey. And a huge shout out to my team, Robert Dapa, Royal Manuel, and Kafui Dake for holding me down, for helping any way possible, for prepping me before interviews, calling me and saying, Che, you have to do this well, you have to wear this, Thank you so much for that. Thank you to my friend, he's called Chris. He was the one that did the artwork for me. He drew me into the artwork. And then thank you to Yao, who did the official artwork of the song. Thank you to everyone who has listened to Ayi and who is sharing. Please share the song. Thank you so much.
Uyo nyamia, uyo nyamia, uyo nyamia, aye isewo. No guaman, no guaman, no guaman, no wahi Abraham sinase. Bebe maureho, mitope maureho. Bebe maureho, mitope maureho nyame.